Alicia Ross was a young woman from Markham, Ontario, Canada whose disappearance in August 2005 and the resulting investigation became the subject of international media coverage. After the initial widespread suspicion of Ross' boyfriend, her next-door neighbor turned himself into authorities and was sentenced to life in prison for second-degree murder. Sharon Fortis recalls summer August 2005 as a lovely summer until August 16, when she learned her 25-year-old daughter had disappeared from the family's Thornhill, Ontario, home. None of it made sense. Alicia, an avid canoeist, had just told her mother she was about to get a promotion at her sales job at Hewlett-Packard. Sharon also believed Alicia had no enemies. Alicia's boyfriend, Sean Hine, was the last person to see her alive. Sean, who had been seeing Alicia for about a month, called police to report her missing when he couldn't reach her that morning. Alicia hadn't shown up for work, either. The night before, the two had spent the evening playing pool and hanging out in the basement of the Fortis family home, where Alicia had her own room with a separate entrance. Sean told police he had last seen Alicia by the side of the road. He told them she had walked him to his car that night after their visit and said goodbye. Fortis and I first sat down one-on-one to talk about her missing daughter about a week after Alicia vanished. She was convinced Alicia had been kidnapped because it was a happy time in her life and there was no reason for her to leave. York Regional Police also considered it a suspicious disappearance. They could not say if foul play was involved but would not rule it out, either. Somebody just didn't come from outside the community and focus in on Alicia, said Insplery Wilson. The priority of police was to find Alicia alive, and detectives appealed to anyone in the community willing to help with the search to come forward. What followed was one of the largest searches for a missing person in Ontario history. More than a month later, after hundreds of tips were pursued, investigators finally got a major break in the case. But it was not the outcome anyone wanted. The man who lived right next door called police and, with the help of a lawyer, surrendered himself. 31-year-old Daniel Sylvester, a recluse who lived with his mother, said he was responsible for Alicia's disappearance and death but claimed it was an accident. The Fortis family barely knew their neighbors. Sharon said she had only seen Daniel Sylvester a few times over the years. He eventually led police to two locations northeast of Toronto where he had dumped Alicia's body. In July 2007, Daniel Sylvester was sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 16 years after a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. Sharon and her family created a memorial fund in Alicia's name. Alicia used to take kids canoeing for a number of years at Camp White Pine, and the memorial fund helped send at-risk youth on canoe trips. Alicia's mother, who remained stoic and composed after her daughter disappeared, says her longing for her daughter has never waned. There's always the yearning. When you lose a child, it's almost like an addiction, she said. You want that child back. Police officers also remember Alicia as a young, vibrant woman who was getting started in her life. You're not going to forget the mayhem of that time. And I think it really brought the community together, the community and police, which is what we are here for, Wilson said. Staff Sergeant Lori Perks, who was a media relations officer at the time, said she will never forget the case. I hope she, Sharon, knows that Alicia will never be forgotten, at least by me and many people in the community and at York Regional Police, said Perks. Secret murder details finally released at Alicia Ross murder trial, disturbing new details of a gruesome crime that left Alicia Ross dead. She was murdered by her neighbor. Daniel Sylvester's trial has begun. He admits to killing 25-year-old Alicia Ross, August 17, 2005. He admits to taking her body and dumping it and then 3 weeks later going back and moving it to a more secluded spot. So why are they having a trial? The trial is to prove he intended to kill her and not about him being guilty or innocent. He tried to plead guilty to manslaughter but the judge rejected it. He is charged with second-degree murder. Yesterday in the courtroom details of the murder were released. Prosecutors told the court how Daniel got in an argument with Alicia and the argument became heated. They say he slapped her when she advanced at him. He then pushed her to the ground and pinned her down. He drove his knees into her solar plexus and began to bang her head on the ground. Alicia was dead by the time he was done with more than 30 fractures. The attack happened on a pathway between her parents' home and his home. He took her body to his garage, cleaned up the blood, took a shower and changed his clothes. He then put cardboard in the trunk of his car and put her in the trunk. He then took her to Kobokonk and dumped her body. 3 weeks later he returned and moved her body to a more secluded area. The prosecution even told the court that Sylvester said the young woman's skull fell off the back of a pickup truck while he was moving her remains for the second time. Daniel, 33, was never suspected in the murder by friends or family. Police at one time were questioning her boyfriend. Daniel did finally turn himself in on September 20, 2005 and lead the police to her body. He said he never meant to kill her, however his actions makes that hard to believe, and this is what the prosecution is trying to prove. After the initial widespread suspicion of Ross' boyfriend, her next-door neighbor was sentenced to life in prison for second-degree murder. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell so that you get notifications anytime we post new videos. Also remember to like, share and leave a comment on this issue. Thank you.